Thank you so much for giving your full attention and energy. As you notice, some of these stories will be deeply intimate and personal, and your energy and your attention directly goes into how that story takes up the space. Cool. So our next performer, will you come on stage? Is Kamga Tchassa. Kamga is a writer who, for the past year, has been in the longest transition he's ever been. Moving to the US, getting married, rediscovering his identity among other things. His love for his wife is only slightly more than his newfound love for anime. Give it up for Kamga, y'all.
Is this thing on? How are you guys doing tonight? Can we give it up together again for Patricia? Jean-Luc Godard said, a story should have a beginning, a middle, and an end, but not necessarily in that order. Tim Burton, on the other hand, has a version which says, every story has a beginning, a middle, and an end, but not necessarily in that order. One recommends, the other affirms. Who, between these two amazing storytellers, us in this room, and the world at large, really knows what's in the story? And truly, who gets to decide how our personal, individual stories get told? Except maybe us. Thank you for taking the time to hear a portion of my story. I have no idea if this is the beginning, the middle, or the end, and I'll do my best to maintain a semblance of an order. But I'm African, so yeah. My name is Kamga Tchassa. I'm 29 years old. I moved to the United States of America 10 months ago to marry my high school sweetheart, and I'm the firstborn son of loving parents. I have a brother, 2 sisters who cried the last time they saw me at the airport. My wife is a medical student who graduates next month. We just got approval of my residency interview date, and my wife is an amazing planner who has been able to take care of us both without the need for me to find an illegal job or starve. Right now, you must be wondering what else I have great going for me, yeah? Life seems particularly terrific, so why am I here? And why should you care? Because that's what we all do, don't we? We are all curators. Even when forced to share the worst parts of our days or our lives, we can't bring ourselves to let go of the mirage we've told ourselves over and over and over. You tell a story long enough, and soon you start believing it. At least I did, until I met my therapist. Like you, my therapist doesn't know how much being a member of the Bamileke tribe from Cameroon means. Bamilekes are known for being very entrepreneurial and pretty good with money. I think those genes skipped me. Being the firstborn son of a Bamileke family comes with a lot of privileges. For example, were my father to die, knock on wood, I would already expect to be the dedicated successor, which means whatever wealth he'd accumulated in his life would become mine at his death. I would have to lead the family, and everyone would be under my authority, including my mother. All my life, I was reminded that I had to be a good example to my siblings because whatever I did, they would copy. As the first child, no one ever wondered if I wanted this authority. No one ever asked me how I felt about being a leader, or even if I wanted to be a leader. It was just expected. From kindergarten to college, from losing my virginity to picking a major and almost quitting twice, no one ever asked me for one moment and truly meant it. How are you? I guess I learned fast what my place was and what it meant. I had to be the example. I had to figure out my life by myself. I stopped expressing anger or worry or love. How dare I? So when I say I'm the firstborn son of loving parents, it's only part of the story. Because they are also children of loving parents. Children in a country that has shared implicitly that emotions are not necessary. That the economy doesn't care about your passion. That the politics of a divided nation doesn't give a shit about who deserves a raise. You must know someone to get something. That's why when I came to and started telling my own story, life changed. I quit school, I stopped dating for the sake of dating, I started reading, and like the good fake American I was, I started listening to podcasts. This is a part of the story where I say 10 years later. Because I get engaged before I tell my parents, I move out of town without needing their validation, I write everything online that the proper firstborn son shouldn't. About love, about heartbreaks, about depression, fear, dreams, hopes, and about being human, vulnerable and all. And with Deus Ex Machina style, my wife finds a way through the heart I didn't have. After 12 years of digital connection, one grueling year of hoping I wouldn't have to jump over the wall to get here. June 23rd, 2018, Denver Airport. 2 boxes, one of clothes, one of presents, and I'm with the love of my life. But who am I? It's a question that hits me daily. Every time I realize I can't work until I get papers, every time I see my 19-year-old brother-in-law driving a car he owns because I had never driven, every time I open Amazon, I can buy a book and have it shipped in days. Every time a friend asks me from Cameroon, so, how is America? How can I know what America is when now I have no idea who I am? What my role is, what is required of me. I'm the firstborn son. My father and mother are getting old. My siblings tell me about their needs without even wanting to. I'm married. I now see a therapist. I now know I'm black. I now need to listen to my wife as we plan for a child. How can this child have a child? I find myself in the middle of my story, finding out that where I come from constrain my emotions, and that I'm not ready for where I'm going. That my money story, my love story, my parenting story needs to be rewritten. I find that love is not about sex or kind words and feelings. Love is all that, and it's every choice we make. I find that I am biased, that I am scared, and I need boundaries. I'm worried about my parents dying and leaving me in a role no one ever asked me if I wanted. But that ultimately, no one cares. Not because we're all heartless. You certainly aren't. I mean, you're all sitting here trying not to cringe at my accent. You're probably all good people. Well, except this guy. No one cares because we're all struggling. We all have our stories, our worlds broiling within us, permeating each act, each thought, each decision. We all have our fights, and we are all in the middle. This has to be the middle. I want to believe I'll never get over my daddy. I don't want to believe I'll never get over my daddy and mommy issues. How will I raise my own child? Or if I can't stop being selfish from years of having to do it all alone, how can I be a loving husband and life partner? If I don't stop thinking only about me, my story, my life, my pain, how do I connect with others, with you? How do we then become part of each other's story? Tonight, right this moment, you have become part of my story. Another layer on every story you know about yourself, about others, about the world. Would you know, for example, that every time I pay an Uber ride, I think of how this 90-minute trip was once a monthly payment for my services? Would you know that each time I see an avocado, I can only picture how the entire fruit looks like the seed from those in Cameroon? Would you know that I speak 3 languages? Now I ask you, what do you know? What do we really know? Seriously, turn to the person beside you and ask them what they really know about themselves. Because that's what my life has revolved around for as long as I can remember. Doubts, confusion, mistakes, inconsistencies, judgment, sin, lies, hate. I have felt things I had no name for, things I now call resentment, anger, things I never learned as a child. I have felt things that have guided most of my decisions. I now know them. Fear, insecurity, need for validation. My story is not special, not to me anyway. As I stand here and share this beautiful moment, many are dying in my birth country because of a shared history some chose to bury. And now, In the parts of the country where I was born and schooled, hundreds of thousands are hurt, dying, driven from their homes, while the remaining 80% of the country doesn't give a shit. Well, maybe some of the 80% does, but who is upset? So each time I think of Uber, or go to Walmart, or kiss my wife in our air-conditioned basement, or hang out with beautiful people who wonder where I'm from, I find myself in a position where I need to pick one story out of myriads. Do I tell you about the time when my wife predicted we'd get married when we met in high school? Or the time when I almost called off the wedding a decade later? Do I tell you about my father and how I hope to be half the man he is, or how I hated him for most of my childhood? Do I tell you about how I left the Catholic Church and my mother has no idea she influenced my decision, and how I secretly do everything for her to be proud of me? Or do I tell you about being in the middle of my story, because that's the only way I have to go on? If this is the beginning, I don't know what I'll do with what I know. If this is the end, I have so much more I need to unlearn. This has to be the middle. This, my dear friends, has to be the middle. Thank you.